Welcome to the Fantasy Grimoire podcast. It is so incredible to have you on board.
Hi, Steph. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
I very clearly remember when we met. It was A Wrecking of Salt and Fire, written by E.K. Kondos, and she had shared some stories about you where you were like going off about how much you hated Cole. I think that's how you say his name,
I
the one
still
character.
do. I still do.
Like, I'm right there with you. And I was like, love her vibe, follow. I was like, that was
That's what you need, right?
because I was like, and again, sure, I'm an author, whatever, but I'm a reader first. And I'm like, if you are making me feel such intense hatred towards your character, you've done a phenomenal job.
Yeah.
And I was like, if she agrees, I want to be in her space as well. So I do want to ask you though, what prompted you to start your Bookstagram account? And I also have a follow-up question. Why in English if you are a Spanish native?
So, what brought me to start my Instagram, Bookstagram? I think it's a shared experience for many girls, many readers after the pandemic, awful time, lockdown and everything. We rediscovered a passion for reading. We were readers when we were kids, we were teenagers, then life happened. We stopped, we sort of fell out of love with it and then restarted. And for me, it was this situation, right? I restarted. And it was thank you to some bookstagrammers actually, they started appearing in my explore page, and I started to see a lot of Agota things, Agota and Throne of Glass. It was, little by little being targeted to me, and I thought, okay, maybe I give it a go. Maybe I start reading again, and I was in a point where I was only reading like one book a year or something like that. I picked book one for the Agota series, and then I just never stopped. And I said, okay, yeah, I've got to meet people that are just as obsessed as this, as I am, because I need to talk about it.
So if you're talking about, let's call it SJM universe, you have made it very clear that you're not and I think I'm saying this correctly, Chaol hater. You don't. So if I have to go with my take on it, in the beginning books, I was like, well, why are you being such a fucking dick towards Selena, Aelin, whatever it was back then? But then I read Tower of Dawn and I was like, maybe I don't hate him. I'm somewhere in the middle. So if you had to convince anyone why they shouldn't be a Chaol hater, tell me why.
Well, I think it's a very complicated answer, okay? It has multiple layers, but I'll start by saying his is the human side of the story. We're not talking about fae. We're not talking about people with powers. We're talking about humans. Humans who have been told all their lives what to believe and who have been only felt safe in a certain background, in certain scenarios. And what they've been told all their lives suddenly implodes. It just crashes down all around them. And for me, it's only obvious that he's scared at the beginning and he lashes out unfairly. Of course, he's unbearable in Queen of Shadows. We all know that. He says terrible things fueled by anger, mostly, and by fear. But who wouldn't fear something that you've been told all your life that's evil, that's going to be something that's going to cause, the humanity enslaved and just destroyed as you know it? Of course, you're really scared. So to me, Chaos, character arc is the human one, because you can see how he goes from being so set up in his beliefs to start reasoning that maybe there's something else that he hasn't considered, to being literally bedridden with guilt and just shame for what he's done and said. How can you just hate someone who's probably going through the same journey as so many of the people around you, especially with politics like we're seeing right now, right? With the world, state of the world. Some people are starting to realize that, hey, maybe the people I'm been supporting all my life don't have my interest in mind, right? So I cannot hate someone who has been going through a journey of, self-discovery through first deconstruction and then renewal of their beliefs.
Wow. That was an incredible answer. I'm not gonna lie, because now I'm thinking back to everything I read in the series and I'm like, shit, she's got a point. Because to add to what you're saying, he's amongst all these supernaturals, for lack of a better term, and he's the only human that needs to, hold his own. And I think there's actually a beauty in that, now that I'm thinking about it.
Also, let's remember, these characters are 20 years old.
Yeah.
Who were, in their own sanity, who had everything figured out. How can you fault them for, making mistakes? Come on, the kids.
I will tell you that in my 20s, I was a fucking train wreck. I look at some of the interactions I see now in Amsterdam, and I'm like, was I like that in my 20s? I know I was an idiot, but was I really that stupid? And my husband goes,
was that really cringe? Yes, I was. Yes, you were. Let's go on. Who wasn't? So I can't hate. I can hate a 20-year-old for believing something and then doing the work to deconstruct himself.
Yeah. And that's, I think it's a big discussion I have a lot with my friends as well, is that it's okay if you don't get it right, but you just need to try. Who knows all the answers? I don't. I mean, there's some days where I'm like, what the fuck am I even doing?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. We don't know. Sometimes we're just going by vibes.
Exactly. Tell me, what does your book review process look like? Because we've got kind of two camps over here. We've got the vibes girlies. I'm a vibes girly, if I may add. And then we've got the reviewers that have a very well thought out, very detailed, like they have almost like a checklist review process. What does yours look like?
Okay, it depends on whether I'm reviewing a book that I'm reading because I want to read, it's out yet, or it's an arc. If it's an arc, you bet I will be, be very careful with what I say, how I say it, and I try to always follow the same structure. Whether I start always by thanking the author and the publisher for giving me the opportunity, then I go through the, like a summary of things that people will find when they pick this book up, so they know right away if certain tropes hit the mark, and then I will follow with my thoughts. It's always like 3-4 paragraphs depending on the book. If it's an arc, I will try to stay clear of as much as I can, right? Personal preferences. And judge the book by itself. I mean, was it well written? Was it well thought? Did I detect some things that were problematic? Did something not hit right because it was marketed in the wrong category, right? Those sort of things. If I'm reviewing a book because I just picked it up and I want to read it by myself, then you bet I will go by vibes. I will be chaotic.
I have a follow-up question for you then, just because of something you said. Have you ever been in a position where you've needed to DNF an arc? And if so, how did you handle that situation?
I have. And this is a question that I've asked many times also in my Bookstagrammer, like, how do people do this? Because it's hard, especially if you already have a previous relationship with, like, a connection with the author, right? If I do have a connection with the author and I feel like the book isn't really for me, unfortunately, I will reach out to them and say, hey, it's nothing personal. I still love that you are doing this. I will still support you, but not for me at this moment. Maybe some other time I will try again and find out what am I missing out. But this moment is not for me. And if I don't have a connection, if I just receive this arc, I usually try to read until 50% mark. If after the 50% mark, I'm feeling something's not quite right, but then after that, it's okay, then I will finish. It will be probably a 3-star, 3.5, but I will finish. If by the 50% mark I just can't, I'll stop, I'll thank the publisher, I'll thank the author again, and I will not review it because I haven't finished. I will never review it publicly because it's unfair. And obviously I will just forget about it. Doesn't matter. I never will badmouth anyone unless I see something very problematic in the book, in which case you bet. But normal scenarios, that's more or less my approach.
I don't really do too much arc reading anymore. I focus more on the beta reading. The last arc that I signed up for, so I'm a slut for sirens. Give me a siren story. I'm in. Like, I don't need a word, I don't need a cover. You just say siren, I'm in. I signed up debut author Anyway, I get the book, 3,000 pages. And I'm like, what do you think you're SJM now? What the fuck?
What?
Okay. I'm like, okay, I'm going to keep an open mind. I start reading the first few pages, and it's almost an earlier version of a draft that should never have been published because it's missing pieces of dialogue. The formatting is funny. I messaged the author and I was like, listen, I don't think I'm going to be able to complete your arc. And I left it at that.
Okay.
She goes, I want to know why. And I was like, oh God.
Also.
I was like, I can be honest. Like, the honesty is not the problem, but it's just if I don't know you and how you respond to honesty, I don't know how far to push it.
Yeah.
So anyway, I went corporate on her and I really, just softened that feedback. She pulled her book. I swear that caused me so much guilt. A few weeks later, I looked at it and I was like, you know what? It was her choice. She asked. I never offered it.
Exactly. And also, how fragile is your ego that you just based on one person that you don't even know, you feel the need to do this? And you probably knew something wasn't right to begin with. I'm sorry, just what?
I think the whole experience just left such a bad taste in my mouth. I'll sign up for the odd arc here and there. There was one I saw doing around in the Facebook groups where the blurb was fucking phenomenal. It was something like an urban fantasy, the four horsemen of the apocalypse, karaoke singers. I was like, what? Sign me up right now.
I want that. Come on.
I don't even know. I don't need to know what your cover looks like because I am judgmental with covers, by the way. I buy books based on covers. You just said those things and I'm in. So I made an exception for that, but otherwise I just kind of like help the author friends now because I just like the one who I beta read for recently. There was a problematic area. Let's go with that. I went with the softer approach and she was like, why are you being so nice? I'm like, okay, well, you need to fix this. This is a fucking problem. You can't publish this. And she's like, okay, thanks. I was like,
okay, some people are reasonable. Who knew?
And she's like, yeah. She's like, don't worry, I'm not that sensitive. And I was like, oh, okay, I can actually be that honest with you. Like, I had to completely rewire my brain. You've been working on your debut novel now. I know this is a fantasy podcast and we're talking about fantasy books. We'll get back to that in a second. But it starts with a little favor. Even if it's not fantasy, do you want to tell us about your debut?
Sure, absolutely. So, some people may not know this, even if they follow me already. It's that it's been already published in Spain, but only in Spain. It's already physically in stores, not online yet, but yes, it's in stores. I had very unconventional approach to how to publish this, basically because I was very inexperienced and very naive, and then I did everything, sideways. The book is a rom-com, but it's mostly about a healing journey for me. It started as a project of, self-discovery and trying to come to terms with some things in my life. And then it became something much, much bigger. And at the end of the day, it's about motherhood as a choice and women who feel the pressure, in society to be in that category, be a mother and dedicate their life to children when you don't feel that, when you don't feel the maternal instincts. And I started writing this at 27-year-old. and at that age, I was struggling a lot with that decision, with that feeling of not being maternal enough. And then I said, okay, I need to do something about this. And instead of going to therapy, I said, okay, well, maybe I'll try writing. And I did. And now into a very cathartic way of dealing and understanding how I feel and that I'm not alone in this feeling.
That's something that is a big theme in my life right now, the whole subject of motherhood. I am not a fan of it when people say to me, children will complete your life or they'll be your greatest joy, because I just find it such an unfair expectation to place on a child. Okay? Like, fix your shit.
Yeah.
A child add to your life, not be the reason for all of that. And I've always been 50-50. We were actually seeing what would happen before the cancer diagnosis, and then that happened. And now the reality is there's a very small window where I might be able to have a child, like a very small window in the future. But even then, there's a very real possibility it may not happen. And it's a discussion I've had to have with my husband where we love our lives. We have a great life. And now we have the dog as well, which has brought us more joy than we ever thought we would ever get.
Yeah.
Then people go, oh, but you can still have a child later. And I'm like, guys, I'm more than the child that I could figuratively have. In the beginning, so I did go through IVF before I started chemo, because chemo kills your reproduction completely. And I had some hesitations about it. And I said to them in the beginning, I'm only doing it because it's an option for me. So I don't have to make another big decision now. I can make the decision later.
Right.
But the moment my ability to have a fictional child, because it is a fictional child right now,
obviously,
the moment that becomes more important than my cancer treatment, I'm done. And I remember it was like a few days before I started chemo, the IVF doctors were telling me to prioritize IVF over chemo stuff. And I was like, are you fucking kidding?
No.
And I am that vocal, and I actually said, you do realize that if the cancer kills me, I'm not having any children, right?
Exactly.
The silence on the phone call.
Shook it. Yeah.
I was very clear about this from the get-go. And if I do end up becoming a mother one day, in whatever it means, I know that I chose to have that child. And I think there's a beauty in that choice as well, because so many people are just popping out kids left, right, and center.
It should always be a choice, a conscious choice. Come on, It shouldn't be something that should be burdened upon women just because we have the biological ability to do so. And sometimes even not even that, because so many issues can come up, right? It's so unfair. So unfair that we just reduce to our capability of bearing children sometimes.
I agree.
Yeah. So I thought all my life, I felt like, I'm not sure I want to. And when I told my boyfriend right at the beginning of the relationship, like 2 or 3 years in, I'm not sure I do. Maybe you want to rethink this relationship if this is a deal breaker for you. And I was like, you know what? No, I see my life with or without children. That's not important for me. But I am sure I want to be with you, and you bring so much joy to my life. It's not something that I am willing to part with just because the possibility of having something that may or may not happen, who cares? And I remember there were so many tears that day, because for the first time, after being repeatedly in my life told that, you will regret it, you're very selfish, you're not doing this right, what kind of woman are you, right? I felt in a very safe place and very cherished and very valued for what I am as a person, not for, my ability to be a mother, to just bring life. It's like, thank you. That's it. This is the right place to be. This is where I want.
I remember in South Africa when I still lived there. So my husband and I, we've been together for 14 years, married for 5 of it. And I was 28. So we started dating when I was 23. Okay. So I was 28 and someone turned around to me and they were like, well, you better get ready and have a child because you're getting too old. And I'm like,
thank you. Come on.
And then I moved here to the Netherlands where, do you know how normal it is for women to have kids at like 40, 42? It's very part of the society here because the women go out, they have their careers, they do what they want. Some get to 40 and they're like, okay, I'm not going to have the kid. Being child-free by choice is a very popular decision in the Netherlands now.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that. And it's getting normalized little by little also in other countries where you can see still some people not being quite on par with that choice. They still think that it shouldn't even be something that you think about. It's like the natural path to follow. And to that some extent, I get it. It's biology, but some of the extent it's like, no, why? In this world, I know. Leave me be. That was the reason behind my book. And even though it's a rom-com, of course, it's romantic comedy. It's supposed to be funny, light, cozy. That's the subject that I mainly focus on. And it has some funny tropes. It's a celebrity kind of romance. She's Spanish, the guy is British, so there's an accent. There's stand-up comedy. The best friend is a stand-up comedian, so there's a lot of that. And a nice cat and very fluffy dog. All those things.
You said earlier is that it is available in Spain already.
Yeah.
When will it be available to the rest of us?
That's fantastic. A fantastic question, Steph. I don't know. Because of my experience with this publisher in Spain, I lost a bit of spark on that. I've been trying to work with my therapist, right, on how to overcome those obstacles, mental obstacles mainly. I started to freeze when I was in the front of the computer, so I completely separated myself from the whole project. Now I'm little by little restarting and resuming all kinds of posts about it, and I need to finalize the new format of the book. Once that's done, I can also finalize the new cover, because I'm getting a new cover, of course, and then we will be able to go through all the motions, art readers, and announcing the launch date and everything. It's a process that I don't know how long it's going to take. I don't want to pressure myself into anything just because I have a deadline in mind. That's not me. It's not something, it should be something that I will still love after, not hate.
Speaking from experience, and it's something I've discussed on the podcast quite a bit actually, we're seeing secret projects become more and more common amongst authors. And the main reason why we do that is, hey, we don't know if we can actually do this. So exactly like you're saying, let's see where it takes us. If it happens, surprise, here it is. But if not, there's no pressure. And I've got a secret project that came out of nowhere, and I was like, fuck it, let's see where we go.
That.
I think your approach, we're going to start seeing that become more and more commonplace amongst authors, especially as we're dealing with so much burnout, not just creative burnout, the mental burnout.
Yeah.
So I just want to applaud you for being self-aware enough and actually be like, hey, this is my boundary and let me honor that.
Yeah, that's it. That's it will, when we happen, you will know. I will announce it. I will shout it out of the roof. But from the moment, I'm keeping it on the down low and taking it one day at a time.
On the subject of romance, because I love how opinionated you are, specifically when it comes to the classification of romance with this whole clean versus non-clean romance. Now, one of my other guests, her episode's not live yet, she actually confirmed with me that the clean classification is traditional publishing standards. But I know that us in the indie space, we're trying to, I almost want to say, change the perception. But in your opinion, why is it harmful classifying closed-door romance as clean?
Because it appeals to a certain mindset, which is a purity culture, in my opinion. And it's so dangerous how a single word can convey so many harmful stereotypes towards women, mainly. And historically, when it comes to purity culture, it's always been directed to the audience of women, girls that are starting to realize sexuality is a thing, and it's being shamed out of them. So when we say clean, something is clean, we are appealing to the concept of pure, just virginal. Yes, and then if we by opposition, we have the dirty. So the sinful, the just shameful, just something that shouldn't be even mentioned, something that shouldn't be celebrated, something that shouldn't have a space in your vocabulary. And it's so sad because, especially right now, when we're seeing this, rise of, again, certain mindset, let's say, it's a misogynistic mindset among youths, still using these terms, knowing full well that they cast this light into this part of literature. It's a choice that I wouldn't make, let's say.
Something that I found really interesting, one of my friends, she's Portuguese, she's from Lisbon, colleague at work, she's got 3 little ones, 2, 5, and 9, okay? And obviously, for anyone that doesn't know, you would know, Lisbon has a very religious mindset, at least for the locals, let's go with that description. And she said it was quite an adjustment for them moving to Amsterdam because it's very open-minded here. And the kids were starting to be taught about sex at school. Obviously, age appropriate. Like calling your body parts the correct names and knowing that it's my body part and no one else can touch my body part.
It's obvious for everyone except the people who, don't want them to know. For a reason, too.
There's a few major European cities where they each have popular red light districts. I'm also thinking of Hamburg has the popular De Reeperbahn. They even have the street where no women are allowed. It's a thing. And for me, I know some people look down on the red light districts, but I'm like, for here, not only is it a part of our history, but it also makes sex accessible for those that want it in a controlled manner. And let me tell you, those sex workers pay the same taxes that I pay in this country. And they're protected just as much as we are.
I mean, if they want to do it and they have to do it, I mean, they might as well be protected. They might as well do it in a safe environment. It's part of the society, whether we like it or not. It's safe, it's healthy. Why not? So I dislike very much the term clean, even if it's publishing standard. Because publishing standard, we know where that stems from, right? I mean, it was controlled by who was controlled. And it's still being very much persecuted with the censorship.
I fully agree with you. And even for me, where I would like to think I'm an open-minded individual. But even then, there are certain things where I'm like, I am going to tap out. This is my limit.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that is a bad book. It just means it's not for me.
Exactly.
Like there's a difference. Where some people, I know we've got the smutty books and then we've got erotica. Now, am I going to read erotica? Probably not, because it's not my vibe. But you'll appreciate this example. The Bombshell Devil's Advocate, Nikita Bell, another fantasy book that we both love. And I love the spice scenes she writes. It's not smut, it's spice.
Yeah.
And yeah, exactly. And I'm just like, now this is fucking sexy. This is what I'm here for. I love this.
Exactly.
And I think it's so important as a reader to know what you like. Another thing that I don't like, and I've said this before on the podcast, is the whole bullying trope. Not my thing.
Not my thing either. I hate it.
Does it mean the author is wrong or a bad author? No, it just means that I don't like the bullying trope. Like, it's really that straightforward. And I know myself as a reader to know these things.
Exactly. But there's so many things I dislike as a reader as well. I mean, for me, the surprise pregnancy trope is something that personally not my thing, and some other people just love it because they feel so romantic. Fantastic, good for you, go for it. There's so many choices available for you. I will not go for them unless I know the book can offer me some other things. And not to say I've read so many fantastic rom-coms with this trope and I've loved them. It's a matter of preference without shaming the other reader for it. And that's a thing that happens when you use the term clean. You intrinsically, you just started shaming people who don't read closed doors romance. That's it.
I do have to ask you, what is your bookish hot take?
My bookish hot take. Okay, I thought it's I could say a lot of things, but lately the thing that maybe irks me the most is the fact that the term romantasy is so widespread for books that aren't really romantasy. I mean, I know, I understand the classification between fantasy and romantasy, but why did we need to make that distinction in the first place, right? And it comes all around again to a world where things written by women, created for and by women, are classified as a second-class production. And because we had before, when I was growing up, we had so many male writers writing heavy fantasy book with, romantic elements in them, and never, not once were they classified as romantasy. And as I think, as an adult right now, I think about them, and it's like, how? Where did they mean it? In today's world, that would be a romantasy, but it's still not classified as romantasy because it was written by. And then if a woman writes them and there's a minimal romantic interaction, it's immediately in the shelf as romantasy, which again, it's telling a certain part of the society, this is not for you. Telling men, okay, this is written for women, by women, not for you. You don't have to read it. It's not as important. And I don't like that.
It's actually interesting that you say that, because I actually think my husband would love Fourth Wing with the dragons and the academy setting. Now, does he read? No, but that's not what we're saying.
That's another story.
That's not what we're saying. But the whole, because there's so much action in the Fourth Wing series, and I'm just using that as a popular example. Yeah. And even that, my one series, I explained it to him, and he's like, I would actually read that. And I was like, I appreciate that. You don't want to read long WhatsApp messages from me, but I appreciate you saying that.
Thank you.
Yeah. But I never actually thought of it that way before, where if we're adding a romantasy classification, we're automatically excluding men from that.
We're not excluding them. They are excluding themselves. That's the difference. Yeah. They are telling themselves, no, it's not worth my time because it's romance. Because it's romance driven instead of plot driven, which is mostly not true. Because I'm sorry, have you seen Throne of Glass? It's classified as a romantasy. Where is the romance?
I mean, if we had to pull the Rowan and Aelin romance out, that story would still stand on its own. Like,
just erase all the romance between all the different couples.
Yeah. It would still be a story.
Let's talk about the world building. Let's talk about this story. Let's talk about the politics. Let's talk about, the socioeconomic, everything. It's a fantastic series that has nothing to do with romance, but because it has some fae, it has some, romantic plot lines.
Yeah.
Subplots. It's still classified as a romantic.
I was actually discussing this with another podcast guest recently. So we're seeing a rise of urban romantasy as a subgenre.
Yeah.
And a book I read earlier this year, Evidian, and I've got to remember her surname, by Ashley something. It's a blue cover, like I can see it in my head. And she has done this genre blending quite well. So not only is it an urban romantasy, it also blends elements of dystopian in it. It's very well done. And I actually said it was giving like X-Men vibes at a stage, and I fucking love X-Men growing up. Not the movies, like the movies, they can keep those. And I actually said to my husband, I was like, you would totally read this because it has the action, it has the mystery, it has all these, like, you're at the edge of your seats. It's a little bit thriller as well. And I'm just like, now that I think about it as I'm listening to you explain this, he automatically would not have reached for that book because women would be targeted so heavily in that.
Yeah, because we will be automatically saying, yeah, it's a romantasy. Again, it's a way of marketing a book. It's a way to that you're going to probably find your target audience right away. But at the same time, we are kind of being also a little bit harmful to ourselves by, keeping that stereotype again and again and again. But yeah, it all started when the first book was classified as a romantasy, which I don't know which one was. I haven't done my research, but I can bet good money that it was, some good fellow saying, no, it was written by a woman. Let's call it that way.
I wouldn't even be surprised if it was an SJM series, just because she is so iconic in the book world since COVID, especially.
Yeah.
I do want to chat a little bit about Stuff Your Kindle days. From an author's perspective, where Stuff Your Kindle becomes really powerful for us. Sure, we're giving our book away for free. Okay, that's not the end of the world. Like, we can live with that. It's a calculated decision.
Yeah.
But a lot of the time, the reason why we sign up for this is it gives us a lot of exposure to new readers we would not have access to on our own. I know the last Stuff Your Kindle day I did, I think something like 800 books, as well as 800 copies of the book. Like, it was an insane amount.
Wow. Yeah.
But I understand the author's perspective here. I would love to hear from you as a reader. What benefit do you see as Stuff Your Kindle days for readers?
Just accessibility at the end of the day. I mean, unfortunately, for many readers, buying over copies of books is not a possibility. And especially for indie authors, many of us start by, selling via Amazon on the electronic version, not even the physical version. And those books aren't usually carried in libraries. Bookstores don't have access to them either. So it's just a way of being able to read those books for free, yes, maybe once, but once you're hooked, maybe you will decide consciously to spend your money in that author next rather than other that you can find in your library. As you say, it's a conscious decision by the authors. It's a calculated risk. It's a calculated, spend that you get to do. But at the same time, I feel for us that we have to resort to these methods just to get exposure. But the market is saturated. That there's got to be a way for us to, find the middle ground. Okay, yeah, for a limited time, we offer the book for free, and hopefully that means that we'll get a return in the future.
That's why I haven't given up my day job yet. Because I mean, there was a time where I looked at the amount of books I had to give away for free, and I was like, yeah, I'm not going to work out the royalty on that because it's just going to upset me.
Yeah.
But at the same time, and I know we never discussed the pirating thing, I have found my book on a few pirating sites, which has been so upsetting. And I know it wasn't someone on my ARC team because I have the watermark. I actually went and downloaded the pirated copy, by the way. I wanted to see what was what.
Good.
And it was an actual formatted, published version that was online, which tells me someone either bought the book or they got it from Stuff Your Kindle Days, and then they put it on a site, and I'm like, oh, really? Can we not?
That's just the downside of everything, right? There's always people who's gonna be the awful version of humanity, and unfortunately, I don't know what can we do about it other than just scream and say, guys, please be decent and don't be a dick.
I recently, and I've actually got to check in on that. Being in the EU, and I think you might have something similar that we have here, I can actually report it as a cybercrime to the Dutch police.
Really? Can you? I need to figure that out. I need to see if I can do that also in Spain, because that would be a very interesting thing to deal with this kind of situation.
Because they see it as loss of revenue for the country, which I can kind of see. I said to them, I was like, well, I might be a small-time author, which is valid, but I was like, lots of big-time authors on there as well. So it's not just me that is losing the money. So I'm going to see where that goes. I'm not getting excited about it, but it was just nice to have that option available to me. Because I didn't know it was.
I wasn't expecting it either to be something that you could report to the police. Like, I was expecting like, pat on your back, like, yeah, go home, please.
Yeah. There are loads of fantasy books being recommended. We know we love SJM, we love the Rebecca Yarroses of the world, but I always ask my guests, name a fantasy book that you believe deserves a lot more love from the community than it's been getting. Yeah.
Okay, so I have two, and one of them you already mentioned, Nikki Tabel, Bombshell Devil's Advocate. To me, I mean, my friendship with Nikki started by, just love of books, of course. But that book blew my mind. It blew my mind. It was so good. I just, from the style, from just the vibes, so, vintage Hollywood in the 2000s, it was so good. So that one, I cannot talk about it enough, honestly. And I wish more people read it. I remember when I finished, I closed my Kindle and I went to my boyfriend. I was like, what is this? I screamed this face because I was like, I can't believe this. This is how it ends. So that would be one. I want to also recommend By This Shot and Shadow It Wins by Rachel M. Harker. She's also a dear friend of mine. She lives in the US, and it's a Norse inspired. It has Valkyries. It has the gods themselves. So you have all your usual crew like Odin, Thor, and Hel, and everything. And there's what I like to call the Death Cruise. And things happen because you get into the boat. It's a lot of fun. It's about to become a very big series, okay, The Fate of the Nine. But the first book, the debut novel, was so well crafted. I mean, Rachel's writing style is phenomenal. I cannot recommend that enough. And honestly, I'm not even that big of a fan of Norse mythology, I have to say. But that one book, I was like, you know what? Yes, a lot of female rage, a lot of, revenge, and it's very good.
I'm not going to lie, I did just totally Google her and add her to my TBR as you were talking. because I fucking love Norse mythology. I would actually love to see more of it in the fantasy space. I was saying one day when I'm retired, I would love to, and it's a useless degree. I would love to do a degree in some mythology, whether it be Greek, Egyptian, Norse.
All of them. Go for it.
I'm just like, you said Norse mythology, and I was like, can I just Google her and add her over here? Because I have seen the name floating around, but I'm not really in her space, so she is a new to me author. And I'm looking at this cover, and I love this cover.
And the details, Stephanie, the details in that cover, when you actually look at it, it's like, damn good. Yes, so good.
But I mean, fate is cruel, but the gods are vicious. Yeah, I'm totally in on that one. And also, I can tell you, I just finished a beta reading for Nikita's second book.
I'm jealous. I only read the first chapter because you said it to me. It's like,
let me tell you, when I was done, I messaged her and I was just like, what the fuck just happened? I need 3 to 5 business days to just sit.
It's that.
I was like, you know what you did. I was like, you knew exactly in that little diabolical mind of yours. You knew you were going to get this reaction out of us.
I cannot wait, honestly. I cannot wait. I mean, I can't wait to see how she makes me fall in love with Jiminy Cricket.
I won't say anything, but what I will say about her as an author, we are going to see fucking phenomenal things from her author career.
Absolutely.
One of the things that she's really going to prove with this book, in my opinion, when she launches this year, is that even though it's the same world, I almost feel like it's standalones, even though the stories are connected. You can read one without having read the other, and like you'll still know what's going on. And I think she's really proving her diversity as an author. And I think that's important in, as you said, the oversaturated market.
She's doing such a fantastic job also with the fact that she creates her own illustrations, right? Along with the book. How well thought is that? How genius you have to be to do that and still create a fantastic, phenomenal book.
Ali, we have your debut. We've spoken about that you're working your way back towards so that you can target to everyone outside of Spain.
Yeah.
We also have your Bookstagrammer account and how you are supporting all the fantasy indie authors out there. What can we expect to see next from you in the rest of 2025 and beyond?
I honestly don't know. I myself go, with the vibes sometimes. I try to stick to my own essence, which is just creating cool graphics with the reviews and then a lot of self-promoting my own thing without forgetting, promoting my, friends' books and everything and things I love. Talk about reading, but what can you expect? Hopefully I will have good news by the end of the year about my own book. And if not, fun all around, talk about books. I will still fangirl about anything that has to do with, Throne of Glass. I will still fangirl about anything that has to do with rom-coms that speak to my soul and just have fun with it.
If any listeners are like, I'm vibing with Ali, I want to connect with her, I want to support her, what is the best way to do that?
Honestly, just clicking every now and then on my posts that are related to my book and just like or even share, or even if you see something in there in my post that don't necessarily speak to you, but you think of someone in your life that would benefit of, reading that kind of point of view from a woman's perspective, just, share it and maybe you can help someone else to find my page. That's it.
That actually echoes something that I say often. I specifically say on like launch days where I go, hey, you might not be my reader, but someone in your network maybe. So I appreciate a share because you might help me find my next reader.
Exactly. And you never know, right? I mean, thanks to this amazing community, thanks to Bookstagram, I found many women who feel exactly like me, who have the same, clone-like experience. So who knows?
And that's, again, one of the reasons why I have started this podcast, is we should be able to discuss these topics in a fun way. Or fun way, that's maybe not the right word. We should be able to discuss it in a fair way. Actually one of the things I'm seeing come up a lot is we're discussing chronic illness. So I've had a guest recently talking about endometriosis. I've had multiple guests talking about diabetes, Nikita being one of them. I've had multiple guests talking about other chronic illnesses that they've been diagnosed with. And a lot of the time, us as women, we're told, oh, but when last did you get your periods? Like, that's the reason for everything. Can we not?
Can we not, please?
Yeah.
Oh, Mom.
So, and that's where it is so important for, you know, people like you to be able to discuss this, because someone might be listening to this and be like, hey, I feel what Ali feels. Maybe I can connect with her and we have that basis to discuss things. So I think that's awesome. Ali, I do want to say thank you so much for your time today. It has been so much fun talking to you. And I love how you just break it down and you really make it so logical to understand.
Yes.
And you just bring a completely new perspective where I'm sitting here and I'm like, I never thought of it that way.
Yeah, I'm glad.
I have loved speaking to you, and I'm sure we will chat soon. And I hope you have a wonderful day.
Very much. I had so much fun as well, and I really appreciate you inviting me and having me. Have a great day.